So I've already done one half of the zipper. So this is the zipper piece, the outside cork part. And then I have my lining piece. The number of people watching this video. Okay. And then the lining piece, and then I have, well, I had all my zippers cut, but now they're attached to the one side. So as you can see, I stitch it so that my lining is facing this way when I top stitch. You can see them. So that when the lining folds back, it just a little rolled edge without any stitches. That on the top, that on the bottom. So that's what we do to start out. So you'll see how the lining and everything attaches here in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch the other side of the zipper, or the other gusset, to the zipper. I'm just lining them up back here where you can't really see them, but that's what I'm doing because I don't pin anything. So I don't. I'm just lining them up. The zipper sandwiched in between. It's a little thick. So now, on the back, see the lining is all facing this way? I'm just going to pull this part over so I can top stitch it. So the lining will continue to stay over on this side while I top stitch this way. So I'm not going to be catching it folded back this way. It's going to stay like that.
These are meant for small people. I'm excited to get seafood as fresh as you can possibly get it, but not having to actually go out into the sea.
So this is what it looks like on the front, and this is kind of what it'll look like on the back. So this is going to fold back so that when your zipper is all put in, you don't see any stitches on the lining. Like that. A couple more to go. the lining get stuck in the zipper if it isn't sealed lining. Okay, so let me finish showing these. Well, here, let me see here. So when the bag is finished, all your lining is going to be pulled out this way. The problem with when you stitch it so that the stitching comes on here, sometimes if your lining isn't all the way pulled, it can be like over, and you stitch it and it gets stuck right there, so it'll always catch. This way, when you put stuff in the bag, the lining is pulled to make it open more, and it never gets stuck in the lining, the zipper. So these are all stitched and stacked. Now we need D-ring. And I already cut my little webbing bits. This is an industrial person. This is a medium lightweight industrial stitching. Okay. So now these are all apart, and we have a nice little chain of D-ring tabs. Exciting. And got some zipper pulls. I usually use this 100% cotton webbing for a lot of the bags. It's a lot stronger than the cork, and it wears a lot better. So, and the cork gets really bulky, and this is cheaper too. Okay. So now, zipper pulls. Open them up a little bit. And these fat ones are a locking pull, so you want to either push or pull to. There's a little finger. Oops. I don't know if you can see the little finger on the inside. I don't know if you can see them. Oh, there it is. See that little pokey finger inside there? On this side? So that, when you pull or push it, see, now it's gone. When you let go, it pops back up. See it? I don't know if you can see them. Anyway, so these are locking zippers. So when you put them on, you either have to push it forward or pull it back to disengage the little locking mechanism to get them on the zipper.
I think the mother was kind of wandering over here. She had 3 cubs, and all of a sudden, up the tree.
She wasn't invited to the party.
I actually, that's my fan club, it's my fan base, so.
It's a lot harder to do so you guys can see them.
I'm going to introduce you to your judges, chef and owner of
Get it further away from my face.
returning judge.
These are big. I do 2 pulls facing each other. It's a double zipper. And things that don't use it. Well, did not get a bubble. That's why it's important to leave the edge flush so that you can put the teeth back exactly how they're supposed to go. So when I open them and close them, is exactly the same lineup. That's how you keep from getting a bubble. So like, you can see on this side. See where it's like flush right there? So you can see this side is on the top. So when you put your zipper pull on, you want this side to be the first one.
I think this soup's too thick, and it reminded me more of baby food. A good baby, healthy baby, well-flavored baby.
So we got some salmon.
What kind of salmon?
So that when you put them on,
What is that? Chump?
it's exactly the same. So they're just as flush. So this one is still on top. If this one jumps down to the bottom where this one is on top, then you'd get a little bubble. Alright, so we got our lining. Kind of open him up a little bit. What is this?
Doctor about Gilletting will most prescribe once-a-day pill for relapsing MS.
So, 31-year-old star.
Now that's sort of exciting. Do you have any stories about
Yeah, it's easier when you look through from the top side because you can see where they're all lined up. And then sometimes you can look down into the zipper pull to see if the teeth are all lined up too.
Took it with him and fed it the whole time because it was 3
Okay.
months later before we could open. And when we reopened the restaurant, we had our mother. Well, you can say your mother.
Deering.
You can say my
other workout programs are so boring. But the thing about
Okay, so the little D-rings set aside.
so fun. I went from a size 8 to a size 2.
Okay, so this is the giant gusset piece. If you guys have ever made a Betty Boulder, she's huge. So this is the gusset. And what we're going to do is take this lining and this lining and attach them to here. So we're going to sew this lining and pretend like this isn't there and just sew the bag like it's just the lining first. And when we get to the zipper, we just we stitch from the edge to the zipper and stop, and then start at the beginning of the zipper over here and all the way down and stop.
Lizzie, what was it like for you today?
So this is what it looks like on the back. So this is where the zipper is, and it's not stitched there on the lining. And you'll see how that works in a second. So from the top, nothing. Pull these down, and then the lining is stitched. Okay. And we'll do the other side. Okay, so now if you see the gusset portion, let me move these out of the way. Move this one out of the way. So the gusset part is for the lining is a big complete circle now, all the way around. And the top part is just this piece here. We'll deal with him later. Now it's all the way around. I've already marked my center points for here and for here for the center points lining.
I just can't believe it.
So this is the inside piece because I just do a simple pocket on the inside, not a big deal. And my label. So I went, you see them? I prepped all these ahead of time. I guess you can't get the whole thing in there. It's upside down. Anyway, so I prepped them all ahead of time. So I'm going to mark up my center points, and just kind of ease the curves in. And so far, since these are mirrored sides, it doesn't matter which is the front or the back.
Not really working through the dishes.
Tom, there's only 4 chefs left. One of them's going home tonight. This is the moment when you need to show us that you can differentiate yourself from everyone else.
Josh, I think there was a balance issue, but I still go back to Lizzie's. You know, we get down to 3 and you give us a bland salmon sandwich.
At this stage of the game, you don't make a sandwich. You make a beautiful, refined dish. that
So
screams
I start with
sourdough, that screams
this backside piece because when we're done, we're going to have a birthing hole. And I want the birthing hole in the front of the bag so that when you look into it, you don't really see it because it'll be on this side when you're looking in instead of on that side when you look in. So when I ease around this corner, I stick my thumb in it because this is the curve, right? So if you stick your thumb in there, it's like just the perfect curve to get around that corner. Then you pin them. Okay,
Any news yet on the baby?
so the back is all stitched on.
So that's any moment. Yeah.
That's what he looks like on the inside.
Thick, and it reminded me more of baby food. Well-flavored baby food.
I mean, I think the biggest problem with Lizzie's dishes, she didn't marinate the salmon
Okay.
in beet and citrus before she cooked it. This far in the competition, that really
Yeah, I hate drop-ins too. This is why I spent many hours trying to figure out a way to avoid having to do stupid drop-ins. Or with like binding, because I used to do them where I would just bind the seams, and that was also a pain.
Lizzie, your salmon just wasn't
So
seasoned.
there's that.
Did you taste the whole cider? I tasted all the compartments.
Now we pin the front, or the front side.
3 chefs did the
Hand up. Hand up. Turn it back on. Ask me. She's like,
out here with all these dogs, we're
Okay.
definitely with the real Team Husky.
So now we're all pinned.
What is your typical diet?
I'm going to leave a huge birthing hole because this thing is going to be massive and stiff.
You're working outside.
But,
So,
again, all in all, really nice.
basically, the lining of the bag
Who's not the winner?
is all put together. It's our giant birthing hole. Make it very easy to turn him.
Thank you. Winning this quick
And
fire
then
today is like the icing on
zipper
the cake. Conquering my fears has been
It's all
probably
like that.
the greatest
So it'll be
aspect out of everything that I've done here.
kind of like this when he's done.
Quite a roll.
So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this down and out of the way. I'm going to attach our D-ring to there. So I'm just going to tack him on, just so it stays on. Okay. So, fold the lining out of the way, lay your D-ring on top, and we're just going to tack it right there. I guess it doesn't matter if you fold it down or not. You're only tacking right there.
Programs are so boring. Daily burn, there's always something new every single day.
So,
Fun. I went from
there's a little D-ring on there. You can see where it's just stitched right there. Like that.
the daily burn trainer.
Do it on the other side.
It's so much.
What surprises today? See you later.
Alright, so that's attached. And see your whole bag is all attached for your zipper. Do the lining part. Now we need the gusset for the outside.
Alright, guys. Thank you.
This giant piece right here.
Step into my chariot.
So
I've never
this
seen
is
Grandma drive. I think she gets chauffeured around,
floor
so I hope
underlay.
she can actually get us home safely.
this is what it looks like. So it comes in a big roll. We got a link to it from Amazon. So it goes underneath your hardwood flooring. But see how it's like gray? And it doesn't crinkle when you fold it. Like you can fold and it's fine, but it still holds its shape nice, even when you stretch it back out. So it's perfect for bags because it's super thin. Oops, let me see. It's really thin and it's squishy, so it holds a nice shape. So he's kind of firm, and he doesn't crunch like stickier Peltex or stuff like that. So I took it
Returning judge.
and I used a little spray adhesive and I just glued him onto the bag.
Yeah, so we're doing this go right here. She used to cook it, but that's where I actually cook it right now. Ever since Kobe blew up the scene, we've been friends.
So what I'm gonna do next?
all the
Okay.
skills, all the energies that surround my whole existence, put that into every single kernel.
So what we're gonna do? I don't know if I can do it where you guys can see. Now, when we lay these together,
There's no sugar,
this
just salt.
to stitch them,
It smells incredibly really.
we're gonna lay this top piece and lay this top piece, and we're gonna make sure that this is kind of down and out of the way. It'll get stitched across here,
Well, it smells fantastic.
but you don't want to catch too much of
Down the
this.
street, it's smells great. It's turning out to be one of the most epic days of my life. He's sitting at a table and eating food that everyone will enjoy.
Make a little toast.
So this is our seam stitched all down there, and this is what it looks like on this side. So it catches just a little bit there. So all your lining is closed now, and the top part is closed.
Sit here and talk about how Emerald
Let me
helped
fold
him
this all
in a
together.
way that Emerald probably had no idea.
You open him up,
It's inspirational.
top stitch it,
She's like,
photo of it, and I'll see if it'll work for this. Because anything with like a gusset or this type of zipper,
I
it
myself
works.
started as a dishwasher and worked my way up the same as he did. if you put your mind to it, work hard, that you can achieve anything. This is totally something that I would make back home. For a long time.
Kissing it.
Come on.
Chefs, these amazing stories bring us to your elimination challenge.
So this is gonna be the outside. A little off, but whatever. D-ring.
I want you to make a dish
On the
that
inside,
represents the
it's all
moment
tacked
when
in.
you knew you wanted to be a chef.
And if you look
The rest of your
inside,
life.
all closed. You see?
It's really difficult for me to sort of wrap my head around because I've known
See?
that I
And
wanted
it's
to
all
be a
stitched
chef
in
for as long as
and
I
closed
can
up.
remember being alive.
Chefs, to
Your zipper is in
commemorate this
and your cork is in.
momentous occasion, you will be cooking for the Governor of Alaska as First Lady at the Governor's Mansion.
And then you just sort of put the bag together like you normally would.
Hours to prep.
Does your cork feel? Okay, so this is like a loop now, right?
I really want to be there.
Pull this over so I can top stitch it.
Can you imagine having a baby and having your husband there? I can't imagine what Josh is going through not being there. I hope so. I have no idea. I love you. The fact that she has to go through this whole process without me, just, it hurts. Okay. Hours and days and
Okay, so that's basically it. Then
Do you want to go home?
you put your bag together the way you normally would for the outsides.
I mean, eventually, yes, but
The inside's all done.
alright, guys, ready to cook?
And you just sew your outside on.
Definitely
Easy.
showing up to me,
It's a size 14 needle. So then you'll fit him in there. And it'll be all good once he's done. And then once this is all done, then you just turn it and then finished. And that's basically it. And then when the inside is all, or when the outside is all stitched on, then I just go through and I pull, this is a top piece. And I pull this seam allowance, I stitch to this seam allowance after the front is on, so that it holds
Prep and cook our dish.
the inside of the lining open up in those corners,
Conceptualize
if that makes sense. And that's how we do it.
ask you.
So we're gonna do piping. This one's already glued down. So here's like a little piece of it. So this is a little piping cord. It's automotive piping, so it's firmer than regular like home decor or like clothing piping because it's kind of stiff and yeah, so it's like a stiff foam. What I do is I cut my cork into 1.5 inch wide strips and I draw a line down the center. I take them out and I put spray adhesive on them. Line my cord down the center, just press it in and then just pinch it around and it seals it all up. So then you have nice cord and then there's no stitches on it, so you don't have to worry about your stitches showing because it's all nicely glued down. Okay. Where do you get the automotive piping from? I bought it online somewhere in like 2 giant huge rolls, but I'm going to make it available on my website too because I have 2 giant rolls of this stuff. It's just like a foam. I don't know if you can see them, but it's just like a hard foam kind of plasticky thing. Probably like any sort of like automotive upholstery kind of place would have them. I don't cut the cork on the bias because it's really wasteful that way. But cork has a stretch in one direction. So usually from salvage to salvage, it's a little bit stretchier than it is along the salvage. So I cut salvage to salvage and it has like a little bit more stretch to it. But once you glue it down, it doesn't really have that much stretch. We'll have to cut little nips in there to get it to go around the curves. rubber cement or vinyl cement, also automotive. I put a link to this in like a previous post. You can get it on Amazon. You can also use rubber cement, or this is just contact cement that I got at Home Depot. It also works, but I like this one better because it has a better bond for the cork. Those are open, and then you have a fan on because it is a god-awful horrible smell. It'll also rub off if it's not bonded onto something, but always gotta lay paper down. So you don't need a lot, just enough to cover. You have just like a layer. This really only bonds like cork to cork, vinyl to vinyl, leather to leather. It does not bond like fabrics very well. Down the side of the glue. So now this is all, yeah, you can't even really see them in there. So this is all glued on, it's already dry. It doesn't feel sticky, you can't even really feel it on there at all. It just feels kind of, yeah, you can hardly feel it. So, and then this one is also all dry. Yeah, you can kind of see the sheen. Yeah, see, you can kind of see it shine differently where this rubber cement is. Okay, so I have my center point marked. Little notch right there, little center point. What glue is that? So, this is our center point. We want to start with it kind of a little bit past our center point because I want the fold to be kind of in the center. So don't push that one down, but you want it to be past it. So I start pushing down here. You're just lining up the edge like you would do and glue it down. So now when we get to the curve, our scissors, make little snips. Okay, so when you get to the curve, you put your finger on the outside to get the curve, and then you stick it down. So it'll spread out. And then we just follow it around. Make sure it's all glued down. The earrings out of the way. This is stretchy enough that it'll go around this curve without having to get clips. This one needs clips, obviously, because you can see how far it's spreading. And then once it's dry, it's not even sticky or tacky, but it sticks to itself. Okay. Corner again. Okay, so you want to kind of curve it to the corner before you squish it down. So what I'm doing is I'm curving it and then lining it up to the corner. sticks down. So it gets it all spread out. Okay, now when we get up to here, back to our center point, where our center is, we're going to cut this one right along the center line. So he's totally flush with that center mark right there. And then this one, we're going to open it up. Pull it back. Now where these two cords meet each other, let's see if we can see them. Where the two cords meet each other, we're going to clip it so they just butt up right against each other. So you can see. So the cords will just butt right up against each other, right like that. And this side, you fold over the seam allowance and press it down because it still has spray adhesive on it, so it's still a little sticky. Line the two cords up and then lay the seam allowance over the other one. So they go together. Like that. Press them down. So everything lines up, and the cord is just a continuous cord, and the only little lump is where you have that little fold right there. So I put a clip in that one, just to kind of hold them. Just to hold it there. And now everything is all nice and secured down. It's not going to move around. You don't have any stitching showing. Make sure everything's squished down. So your corners are all nice and laid out flat. Okay. So this one is all glued down. Now we're going to glue the insides that we made yesterday. This is the gusset that goes around it. We did this yesterday where I showed how I do the gusset so it has the drop-in lining look without having to be a drop-in lining where it's like a birth bag. So he'll have his birthing hole right there. So this is the lining. So this is the back. We're filming. Oh. Okay. So now, this is kind of wonky because it's on the other side here. So I have marked the center points. Oops, can you see them? The center point there, and the center point. Oops, can you see them? Center point here. Yeah. On the tops and bottoms. So now we just put glue all the way around these edges. Basically. I'm trying to do this so you can see. How come? Because I don't want to put makeup on just for a video because it's hot. And I look a mess. trying to do this so you guys can see. So now all of one edge is glued. I'm gonna take this guy, and we're just gonna glue all around this bit. This is when I like glued last night. It does not come apart. It is glued together. Yeah, can't even really get them apart. So this one is all glued down. Now we're gonna glue the insides that we made yesterday. This is the gusset that goes around it. It's on the other side here. So I have marked the center points. Oops, can you see them? The center point there, and the center point. Oops, can you see them? Center point here. Yeah. On the tops and bottoms. So now we just put glue all the way around these edges. I'm gonna take this guy, and we're just gonna glue all around this bit. So now it's all glued. Yeah, you can even see it. You can see the wet part? Yeah, I can't even see them. You can't even really feel it. It's just like slightly darker color. Can't even. It's not sticky or anything when it dries. It just dries like it's not even there. Okay. So now it's gonna be awkward to show, but we line up our marks. So our bottom mark. It holds, but I just like to put a little clip in there so it doesn't flop around. Okay. And line up our top mark. You don't have to let it set overnight. Oops. Okay, I can find my top mark. There it is. I usually just glue it and then sew it right away because it bonds pretty good right away. You see, it's holding it. Alright, so this is the hard to show part. Now it's all glued down. So it's all glued, no staples needed. Oops, can you see the curve? Yeah, curve is all glued in. Super tight. Take your clip out. Okay. Okay. So I'm changing out my regular foot to a piping foot. See, it's all rusty because Hawaii is horrible on everything. It makes everything all rusty if I don't use them constantly. Anyway, just rub the rust part off. Yeah. So what happens is the piping rides alongside this little channel, and then the needle just pokes down right at the edge so you get a nice tight seam. Piping foot. You're gonna sew it from this side, or you're gonna sew it from this side. So what did I do last time? Let me see if I can. Yeah, I sew them up, so this is gonna be hard to see. See how we go. Anyway, you can start anywhere. I changed my stitch length to a smaller stitch length. I still use the same heavy thread, and I adjust my tension so it's tighter tension. So when you push down, you can feel your cord sticking out. So going around this other curve. Now it's a piping foot. So now we're all stitched down. All our cording is in there nice. Nice curves. Can you see them? Oops. Let's see. There you go. Nice curve. Nice curve. So because of how we do the lining, we're going to come back. This is the top. Okay. So this is your zipper right in here, actually. This is where the end of your gusset is. So this is the zipper side. You see, this is the body. We're going to pull this to line up with that. So what we're going to do is we're just catching the seam allowance. We're not sewing on the inside of the seam. We're not sewing on this seam. So this is the edge seam. We want it to line up with that, and the center point to line up here. The most important part is the center point, so I'll put a clip in there to hold them. I don't usually clip it, but it's easier to see. So the reason we're stitching this lining to the seam is so that when you open the bag, the seam doesn't fall in. Or the lining doesn't fall in. And we're only stitching the top of it. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be caught in the seam. So you can see the top of the bag, the seam is just attached. The lining is just attached to it. Just kind of rides along that same edge. Along there. Yeah, you can use a zipper foot. You just have to be more careful about riding along the channel. So when you go inside the bag, you can see this seam, oops, right here, is now firmly attached inside there. See, I'm trying to push with my finger. So it won't fall back in to the bag when it's opened. At this point, it's easier if you open up the zipper, but let's see if we can get the zipper open. So I'll show what it looks like here. Okay. So here's our bag, right? Flip it. So that's all of our piping. So I haven't trimmed any seams or anything yet, but you get the idea. So there's our piping, all nice and tight and pretty, and you don't have to worry about stitches showing through on either side. How much of the top do you sew to tack? I sew pretty much from the beginning of the gusset to the end of the gusset, just but anywhere at the top. See, then you can see inside the bag. See how it's nicely attached in there? So he doesn't fall in. Like that. So it keeps it nice and tight, and you don't have to worry about this getting caught or falling in. So you have nice piping. And then you basically just do that to the other side, and then you have your big birthing hole. Turn him right side out, close it up, and you're done.